In this demo video, we'll show you how to do an integration with SSL Orchestrator and McAfee Web Gateway, and how to take advantage of some of the functionality in SSL Orchestrator that allows you to simplify change management processes and make changes to devices in your security stack without actually disabling your security or disrupting any connectivity. So let's get started. We will be configuring the McAfee Web Gateway interfaces. Those are under Configuration and Network Interfaces. First though, you want to make sure that your proxies are set to Transparent Bridge, and then when that's done, you take two of your interfaces. In this case, E2 and E3 are enabled. If we look at them specifically, they have IP4 disabled, and they have a bridge enabled, IBR0. And if we look here, it's the same for this one. IBR0, IP4, and IPv6 are disabled. But it's relatively easy to create one of these. I will show you an example. We'll use 5 and 6 here. In order to just do a bridge for that, you would just simply enable the bridge, use something like IBR1, and when that's complete, you would come over here and have the bridge, and it's set to disable IP4 and IPv6. So IBR0 here is ready to go, and if we needed to, we could save changes over here to create that other bridge. All right, so let's just back this out here. Okay, so we have our bridge configured. What we're going to do is go over to the SSL Orchestrator and create a new topology to perform testing. We'll call it staging topology, and we'll do L3 inbound. You can give it a name or use the default. I tend to use these default keys so that when I am actually testing using the staging topology, I'll get certificate errors and know that that I'm connecting through the right one. All right, let me see. We will leave the service as is. Let's add a service chain here because we'll need it eventually. And we'll call it the staging chain. And move over here. Now what we want to do is make sure that this matches on a specific client IP address. And that's the IP address of the client where we'll be doing the testing. So I'll set client IP subnet match. In this case it is 10.5.9.51/32. You click here the new to enter that in. And we will want the proxy action to intercept, service chain to staging chain. Okay, and just to be safe, let's set this default rule here to bypass, so that if anything unexpected comes through, it will automatically go to bypass. All right, and now we have the interception rule, and we'll be very specific about what we want to intercept here. We want 10.5.9.51/32, so that's that single client IP. And our web servers are at 10.4.11. There it is, .0. Port 443. Okay, from the VLAN, this it comes in on the ingress side from VLAN 501. I'll set the L7 profile to HTTP. And I will set this to auto map. And deploy. Alright, that was successful. Alright, next we want to check the McAfee Web Gateways statistics. One of the ways we can do that is from troubleshooting and then packet tracing. You can see there's multiple different packet tracers here right now. Let's go ahead and set the command line parameters to a single interface. This is the bridge. So we'll go ahead and start that. Let it run for a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a look at that packet trace file. Alright, let's see. If I filter this by HTTP, we can see here that there's a bunch of HTTP GET requests. These are showing up on the McAfee Web Gateway in HTTP clear text because the SSL Orchestrator has decrypted them and sent them over here for analysis. So we can tell right now that this McAfee Web Gateway is actively processing connections. So what we want to do next is go back over to the SSL Orchestrator, and we want to change the weight ratio. So actually what we'll do is we'll edit this one and we'll set the ratio to 65535. That means that virtually all connections will now go to this McAfee Web Gateway, not number 1. I think we're just going to go ahead and deploy. Deployment was successful. Alright, let's go back to the McAfee Web Gateway GUI. We should do the same command line parameters here. Now in this case I have the capture here that shows this. So let's take a look. Now we'll notice there is no HTTP in here at all. You can see connections ICMP between these IP addresses here. Now this represents the health checks from the SSL Orchestrator to the McAfee Web Gateway. So right now the only traffic that this McAfee Web Gateway is processing is actually just the health checks from the SSL Orchestrator. It's not processing any active connections for production traffic. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we'll go back over to the BIG-IP and we're going to remove one of the services. So we'll go over here to Services, McAfee Web Gateway, and let's see here, edit that. And what we're going to do is delete this from the service. That way McAfee Web Gateway number 2 will be handling all the connections. Go ahead and deploy. Alright, let's pause for a moment here. Here we are on this McAfee Web Gateway, and we just removed it from the service on the SSL Orchestrator. So now it's still connected to the SSL Orchestrator, but it's not actively processing any connections. The only connections it sees is the health checks. So at this point, we can perform a variety of maintenance tasks on this McAfee Web Gateway without disrupting production traffic. And when that's done, we can then safely test it, make sure that the changes we made were effective prior to moving it back into production. Now, some examples of the maintenance tasks you might perform could be that you do a software upgrade to a new version. You might need to make policy changes and verify they work as expected. You may even need to do physical maintenance on the device, like you need to physically move the device or replace a hard drive fan and or power supply. These are all things that you can easily do now without disrupting any connectivity. And then when you're ready to test it, add it to a new to that topology we created previously. And so that's what we'll do next. So let's assume that we've performed the maintenance. Now we want to make sure that whatever changes we made were effective. So we're going to go over here to the staging chain, and we want to edit the service, and we're going to want to add a new one. And in this example we'll use generic. I'm just going to leave the name at generic so that we know that's not a production device, just during the testing phase. Alright, so we want to make sure this is connected to McAfee Gateway 1, the first one. And we use this port remap as we did previously. Go ahead and save. And we want to make sure that we attach it to the correct service chain. So here's the staging chain. And what we want to do is move this over here so that we can do our testing. Make sure to give it a deploy. Alright, deployment was successful. Alright, so let's go to our client computer here so that we can do some testing to make sure that the connectivity through the McAfee Web Gateway we just performed maintenance on, that it's working as expected. So here I am at that client 10.5.9.55, and we'll look at see if one of the web servers is up and functional at 10.4.11.52, and we can see that this reloads almost instantly. So everything looks fine going through the new service in the testing topology. And like I mentioned before about the certificate, we can see that it's that generic one that I left configured. Alright, so let's go back to the service chain. In this case, this is the staging chain that we created. We're going to go ahead and remove this from the staging chain. Alright, so now what we want to do is delete the service. Alright, and that's done. We'll go back in here to McAfee Web Gateway, and there's the service. And we want to add this one back in that we just performed maintenance on. And we'll have to set the ratio to the same as the other one, basically to put things back to normal. And then deploy. So we'll go back to the McAfee Web Gateway interface to check the statistics again. Alright, yeah, this looks normal. This looks like this McAfee Web Gateway is back to actively processing connections. So what you would want to do now is repeat these steps to perform maintenance on the other McAfee Web Gateway, if you'd like. But I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I hope that you enjoyed it and learned something as well. Thank you.